what's Rocket Pool's business model, and how does the native token work?
So Rocket Pool, or RPL, plays two roles. The first role is that it's a form of collateral. So, as I said before, they need to post also or deposit RPL as collateral as well per validator that they spin up. That actually covers the tail risks. So, 8ETH covers quite a lot of the tail risks, but there's even there are very unlikely tail risks. That's why they're tail risks, but they're very unlikely risks. So things like Rocket Pool is not necessarily. There are two types of risks. There are tail risks. There is correlated slashing and this thing called quadratic leak. A correlated slashing is where a whole bunch of validators get slashed all at the same time. Now, Rocket Pool actually is built in a way, because we're decentralized, we're actually less prone to that issue. But if there was a client bug, for example, then that we could suffer from that. So that would be a case where RPL could be activated to fill any gaps for that. The other thing is this thing called a quadratic leak, which is basically where Ethereum isn't finalizing. Again, this is unlikely. Like if Ethereum isn't finalizing for an hour, people freak out, or even two slots, people freak out. Whereas this is like if it's not finalizing for days. So that's one of the other tail risks that we kind of like take into consideration, and so RPL covers some of those tail risks as well. So that's the first thing is this collateral, or kind of again bolstered insurance collateral. The other thing is it's governance. So although RPL itself is not a governance token, RPL used within the protocol to support staking is governance weight. So that's how we differentiate it. So essentially, you have to be adding value to Rocket Pool to be able to vote in governance.
For all of these mechanisms to be effective, RPL does have to get its values somehow, right? Like to be able to cover for tail risks. I assume like this collateral is sold in the secondary market to cover for these events. But yeah, again, like for this to work, there needs to be some intrinsic value for the token. So where does that come from? So
RPL has been around for quite a while now. So we did the ICO back in 2017. So it's kind of had a value since then, although that would be arguably a very kind of speculative value because we were pre-product. It gets its value by the fact that to be a node operator with Rocket Pool and earn this extra commission, you have to stake RPL as well as ETH. And so it kind of like you gain access to that commission via staking RPL. So that's kind of like the first thing. The other thing is it's actually like a yield-bearing asset itself, because if you're staking it within the protocol, so RPL inflates by 5% per year, and 70% of that goes back to node operators. So that gets distributed back to node operators who are staking their RPL within the protocol. So currently, about 50% of the RPL in existence is actually staked within the protocol. So that's kind of where it gets its kind of like value from, is this access to extra yield that you can get through ETH commission and that sort of thing.
Also, super interesting that you said Rocket Pool had an ICO back in 2017. I had no idea that you guys were around for that long.
It was probably one of the smallest ICOs.
How much was it?
I don't remember, because I came in quite late. Well, I came in like 2018, just after the ICO. I think, I don't know, it was only really a few million once we paid tax.